Today we're going to show you how to change a dual inlet water valve on your refrigerator. And it's a really easy job. All you're going to need is a 1/4-inch nut driver and a sharp utility knife. Let me show you how we do it. Now before we begin this repair, the first thing we'll need to do is to disconnect the power to the refrigerator. So we'll pull it forward far enough to disconnect the plug. We'll also need to disconnect our inlet water supply. Make sure it's shut off before you disconnect it. And then pull it out far enough that you can gain access to the back of the refrigerator. We're next going to remove 4 screws in this sub back panel that holds the valve. 1/4-inch hex head screws. Once we've removed all the screws, we'll just slide that panel sideways. Remove the tubing on the outlet at the top. Simply depress that collet. Just push down on it with your finger and pull the tubing straight out of it. You're probably going to have a little water leak there, so you have something to clean that up with. With that removed, you have enough room to pull it around. Disconnect the 2 wire harnesses. And they're different size terminals, so you can't hook them up backwards. Now we have access to the 2 outlets at the rear of the valve, and again they're a quick connect type. Simply depress the collet, push it in towards the valve, and then pull the tubing out. Next we'll disconnect the outlet tubes. Simply depress those collets, push them towards the valve while pulling out on the tubing. You're probably going to get some water leakage here. I have a rag handy to catch any excess. Do the same for the tubing going to the ice maker. And now we can remove the single 1/4-inch hex head screw on the front. That will allow us to pull the valve through the back and slide the connector from the input off of there first, and then pop it right out through. We'll discard the old valve. Now before we install the new valve, you should carefully inspect the tubing, and it's a good idea to cut off the portion of the tubing that was inside of the valve, so it's typically about 1/4 inch. So we'll take our utility knife, a block of wood to protect the floor, and we'll just trim that excess off. That gives us a nice clean piece of tubing to insert into the valve. Do the same for the one going to the ice maker. And also the line going up to the water filter. Now when we install the new valve, we're going to line up this fork with the hex shape of our inlet fitting, and it's also going to slide into that plastic bracket. As well, we're going to engage this tab on the mounting bracket with the tab on the housing. As we insert it, make sure that the plastic holder is up far enough to engage that metal fork. And that the tab engages the mounting bracket. And hold that in place while we reinstall that 1/4-inch hex head screws. Now we're ready to reconnect the water lines. Take the one, the ice maker first, slide it up through that bracket. And while depressing that collet, make sure the tubing is fully inserted into the valve. Same one for the water dispenser. It should go into that valve about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. Make sure that it bottoms out. Just give a gentle tug on both pieces of tubing, make sure they are engaged. And route them through the opening at the bottom. Now we can position that mounting plate, and then we'll reinstall the 1/4" screws. Let's put these screws in just snug to begin with until we line everything up. Once you have all 4 screws started, we can tighten them all. Next, we'll reinstall the line going up to the water filter to support the bottom of that valve outlet. And make sure the tubing goes in at least 1/4 inch until it bottoms out. Give it a gentle tug, make sure it's engaged. Now we're ready to reinstall the water inlet to the valve, reconnect our power, and our repair is complete.